Hi everyone, welcome to Property Insight. I'm Neil Harding.
I'm Mark Ashworth.
We had a request in comments on our YouTube video from Sam Lane. Thank you for watching us, Sam. And Sam, you asked Mark and I to talk a bit more about the sort of properties that we hold in our portfolio. So we thought we would honour your request and talk about that a bit. So let's start with Mark. Let's start with your portfolio and what sort of properties you have, your sort of tenants you have, where the properties.
Okay, so I think I've talked on a previous video about where I first started. So I used to live in a town in Suffolk called Newmarket, and I kept that home. I still have it today, and that is rented out. And then I continued on with investing in sort of some years later, and started to buy single lets. So I think I bought maybe 6 single lets before I got into HMOs, and they are just traditional 2-3 bedroom properties, most of houses, like freehold houses. I've got a couple of flats which are leasehold, obviously, and then I also have HMO properties which are essentially bigger family homes, and they're converted into shared accommodation. One of the properties I have has 6 rooms. Most of the others have 5 or 4. So they're kind of like small shared properties, which a lot of people consider that they're a little bit easier to manage and to tenant than bigger properties where they might have, 3 or 4 different levels. Also got a commercial property in my portfolio, which I'm sort of letting that to small businesses, service-based businesses mainly. So most of the stuff that I've got is over in a market town called Thetford, which is probably about 30,000 people. So it's probably a small town, I'd say, where the yields are good. And when I first started buying in that area, the houses were quite inexpensive because the road connections weren't particularly great. But they've massively improved that now, so it has become more popular, and there's quite a lot of development going on there. So.
Do you have a mixture of tenants, of professional people, students, families?
Okay. So most are either couples or young families. We don't really touch the student market at all because there isn't a student market in that area. In bigger cities such as Norwich, Cambridge, Peterborough, they're going to have universities. Peterborough's got universities.
It does.
So, you're going to probably attract students. So all the HMOs that we've got are all professionals, typically sort of blue collar rather than high-end professionals. So,
are the properties right in the centre of
town?
Yeah, or?
Pretty much. Yeah, there's a couple on sort of the outskirts which suit families more. And younger sort of shared housing, probably they do quite like to be near the town centre, generally speaking. But because it's quite a small town anyway, I think it's probably less important. I think if you have property in a city, then it's probably going to be, the location of that is going to be a lot more important to people who don't really want to have to get public transport just to travel from within a city. They want everything to be sort of more on their doorstep. So that's the kind of stuff that I've got. So how about you, Neil? What does yours look like? Where is your stock?
So all of the properties that I own are in Peterborough, which is where I'm from. I started investing in Peterborough because it's where I'm from, and so I knew the area. It was much easier for me to get confident around buying the right property in the right place. So Peterborough's got, I don't know, maybe a couple of 100,000 population. It's a good sized city with healthy, strong rental demand. I never really have any difficulty finding tenants for my properties, in all honesty, which is great for keeping voids low. All of my properties are single lets, so I don't have any HMOs. I let to a mixture of professional people, families, tenants on benefits, sometimes not. I don't have any students, not at this point in time. That's not to say that I wouldn't let to students, but currently I just don't. Yeah, so quite a wide mix, I would say, of tenant type, and perhaps quite a varied mix of property type as well. I have 2-bed and 3-bed properties mainly. I have maybe half of my portfolio is leasehold and half is freehold houses. So yeah, I've got some leasehold flats, 2-bed flats typically, and properties that are 2, 3 or 4 beds. It's a good rental demand area.
So just out of interest, with your like tenure type in terms of leasehold, freehold, were you? Is it just a case of looking at the deal and seeing whether the deal stacks, and then you either go with it or not, or was there another mindset to owning both freehold and leasehold? And moving forward, would you prefer to own more freehold or more leasehold? Or if you could go back, would you choose one over the other?
Oh, good question. So I think my preference has always been freehold, to own more freehold property. And I probably own more leasehold properties than I would ideally like at the moment, in my portfolio at the moment. So I'm looking more for freehold properties in future. I can understand why people don't necessarily want to invest in leasehold. There are risks with leasehold investing that don't exist with freehold. So, for example, service charges, increasing ground rents, and all these sorts of things. One of the things that I found when I first started investing was that actually there were more opportunities on leasehold in front of me than there were on freehold. It was easier to find those deals, and I was quite a passive investor. That included sourcing the deal as well. I used estate agents. So the deals that came my way, the really good deals, were often leasehold, and perhaps that's because other investors don't look at them. And the other thing that I found quite advantageous with a leasehold is that typically there's a block of flats, there might be 30, 50 more flats that are the same footprint. And so getting comparable sold prices for a very similar property that is 12 months old is quite doable, without having to get down to the nitty gritty of sort of price per square foot of property and all this sort of thing. So I found it very easy to get comfortable and confident that actually I'm buying at a good price for a property that's in a good condition, that's got good rental demand. So I was always able to look at these leasehold flats and think, that's actually quite a good deal, I'm going to get that.
And I guess, flats are, for a lot of people, are a stepping stone in the property market. Most people don't necessarily want to live in a flat forever, but there's certainly a period in people's lives where flats are very useful and and they're in good demand. So you'll always find very good tenants for flats. I lived in a flat myself with a friend when I was younger. I've never ever had an issue renting them out, and I think most estate agents would tell you that they'd probably, if they had more flats, they'd be happy.
I think so, and one of the things that I have always tried to focus on is actually, although I said previously I have got a mixture of tenant types, I love letting properties to families. I think that's where more long-term tenancies are. More long-term tenancies means less tenancy turnaround, fewer voids, and that's where, voids are where cost is. So the fewer of those you have, the better. With my flats, I don't have any one-bed flats at all. So all of my leasehold flats are 2-bed or more. Same for freehold. I haven't got any 1-bed properties at all.
Yeah, so I suppose, depending on the stock that you're buying will actually influence the type of tenant you have. So if you do want to have more families, then you need to be looking for, room in the flat in order to grow. Whereas if you don't want families, you just want individuals or couples, then obviously flats, 1-bedroom flats are more potentially more appropriate. But yeah, Neil's right. You're going to get a little bit more churn with those. People are going to move in and out more often if there's just a single person, because your circumstances change, right? You might want to start a family. You might want to settle down with a partner, and in that case, a 1-bedroom flat might become too small. Thanks so much for watching. We hope you found it insightful, and we look forward to chatting to you again on the next one.
Thank you.